Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start our video with the story of the world's bravest cashier. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. You got exactly what you asked for. So when my dad was about 18, he worked for a gardening center in Chicago, and he was closing for the night. Every night, my dad's job was to close up and walk the money from the registers to the owner's house. So right before closing, a guy came in and pulled a gun out demanding all the money in the register. So my dad, being the only one there and with a gun in his face, opens the register and gives the guy like $60. The dude obviously took the cash and ran off, and my dad, being the calm guy he is, just shook it off and locked up. He still had to go to the owner's house, so he did, and explained to the owner that they'd been robbed, and the owner was all worried and asked how much money they lost, and my dad told him it was about $60. The owner was pretty relieved because obviously he expected to have more money stolen, so he asked my dad, "That's all we made today?" And my dad said, "No, here's your $3,000. Since my dad's job was to walk the money to the owner's house every night, he'd already cleared out most of the register and put the money in his jacket pocket, only leaving some extra cash in the register in case someone came in last minute and needed change. So my dad stood there with a gun pointed at him and $3,000 hidden in his pocket and gave the guy with the gun $60 because he asked for the money in the register. Your dad sounds like a good man, impressive integrity, and balls of titanium. And our second story. The man who tried to wash himself in our kitchen sink. The current story takes place 2 years ago. I currently work at a 24/7 gas station / restaurant / convenience store place. On this particular evening, we finally slowed down after a major rush. Once it slowed down, we went about restocking our kitchen, making sure we were ready for our next rush, when in comes this one particular customer. Background on this particular customer: this middle-aged man used to be a police officer, but was a bit off his rocker. He was eventually kicked from the force for some reason I'm not aware of. From the stories I hear, though, he hangs around a lot of stores and tries to pull people over still, despite him not being a police officer anymore. Needless to say, he causes a disruption every time he comes in. On this particular day, said customer walks up to our door leading to our kitchen area. Our kitchen's visible to customers, as our coffee counter's probably about 3 feet high, so the door beside the coffee counter is one of those swinging doors, and there's a sink for washing our hands next to this door. The customer decides he's going to get completely naked and walk into our door. Once he takes his clothes off, he walks up to our sink and starts washing himself off. I was laughing because it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, but my manager was less amused. She runs up to him and starts screaming, "Get the hell out of here! Leave our store right now!" and chases him out. This was literally probably the funniest thing I ever saw. And after this happened, he was banned from the store. Despite his ban from our store, though, he'd still come in to cause a ruckus. Fortunately, though, he's in prison for arson, so we lucked out on him not coming in our store again. And our last story. Screw with my credit? I'll help you with yours. I became a father at a young age. I moved out of my parents' house at 17 because I felt like they treated me like a child when I was working as much as I could to support my own child. I would get grounded for being out late when I'd stop by my girlfriend's home, baby mama, to see my little one after work. After I moved out, I lived in my truck for a couple months, showering at my now very hateful ex-girlfriend's home before and after school. Her mom and stepdad agreed to let me live there rent-free as long as I continued to work and keep my grades up and not fail school. Once I became 18, I picked up a full-time job, kept my part-time job, got a credit card. I was able to change the ownership of my car, which I bought, but for legal purposes had to have my parents' name on it. Started looking for a place for BM, baby mama, baby and I. We split the rent, phone bill, gas, electric, cable, etc. However, it was all under my name. I wasn't the best person, I admit, trying to keep up with school. I had to do an extra semester. 2 jobs and a baby was hard. I would lose my temper, raise my voice, start arguments, even if I was in the wrong, but I never hit my girlfriend or child. I may be a vindictive monster, but I won't do anything like that. She broke up with me due to my short fuse an hour before my shift started in a McDonald's. and told me I had until the next day to pack all my stuff and move out. Looking back, she did what was right for our child and her. I have no animosity when it comes to the breakup. However, what came after that killed me, financially. We agreed to keep amicable and pay our half until the lease was up, and then she'd get her own accounts. About a week later, I failed my final semester and lost my full-time job. I still had my emergency credit card if I needed it, and I had moved back with my parents to save for a new place and find another full-time job. 6 months go by, BM and my lease is up. She changes the accounts to her name. I have a job in line, I'm making good on my payments and still in my child's life, staying civil with BM, just spending time together. I had a new girlfriend, one that I didn't realize was jealous of my child and BM until it was too late. BM and I still adored each other's parents, so family get-togethers were frequent. I contact the gas company, the electric company, and the phone company to have them transfer my account to the new place, only to find out she hasn't paid her half. I'm told by all the companies that I have to pay the overdue balance before they can switch to the new address. $2,000 total. I pull out my credit card and start my first payments on them. I confronted BM about it and she just smiles and says, "Did we have that in writing? It was under your name. Why should I pay?" I swallow my pride and my credit card swallowed my debt. During our time together, we'd become close again. My jealous girlfriend had left by then and I had hopes of getting back together with BM. I decided to just grin and bear it. Because of my good standing with the credit card company, they boosted my credit line. Then I lost my part-time job and had lost the prospective full-time job. Struggling, I managed to find another one, but not before maxing out my CC with bills and wound up delinquent on my account for choosing to pay current bills instead of my credit card. My credit went from amazing to WTF in less than 6 months from when I first used my credit card. I get back on my feet and still have my credit card debt looming over my credit score. Years pass, we decide to give it another go. After 8 months, we decide to move in together. My credit sucked, hers didn't. The only way we could get anything, new place, utilities, etc., is if she was the primary account holder and I was secondary. No control over anything, just allowed to make payments. I forgot to mention that by this time I ditched my truck for an older sports car. A few months go by and we decided a 4-door was more advantageous than my sports car. Go to the lot, trade my car in for a spacious 4-door. Her haggling was horrendous and she refused to let me help. Story for another topic. Due to my crappy credit, I couldn't be on the lease. She signed for a $19,000 car without me. Since her POS car was paid off, she immediately turned and said, "If something happens between us, you get my car and I get to keep the new one." A small argument ensued. However, she won. Her name was on the title. I really couldn't argue. She held the fact that her name was on both cars. She was the primary leasee on our home and utilities, and I was supported one. Yep, after I fell in love with her again, once again she had me by the balls, and she turned evil, spiteful, and dangled our failed first relationship in my face. I was done. I wound up cheating on her with my next girlfriend. I realized that I no longer was in love and sat her down, admitted what had happened, and told her we're done. After she slapped me, called the woman I cheated with a whore, and said a few choice words about what I'd done, she pleaded asking me to work it out, never see the whore, and I would be on a tight leash. I turned away, like a coward, and said, "No, there's obviously something wrong with us." She slapped me again and kicked me out. With reason, I admit. The next day, I explained everything to the landlord. Well, just that we're no longer living together and that I wouldn't be able to pay my half of the rent in full because I was looking for a new place and needed to save up. It was an older couple who adored us. They said they understood, and as long as I paid half of my half, they would accept it. I took my name off as secondary account holder on the utilities. I went to pick up the POS as our verbal agreement, and she said, "No, you screwed up. You have to take the new car and take responsibility for the payments. $850 a month plus $300 insurance, all under her name, with me being the dependent, I guess you could call it." She threw the keys at me and locked the door. I moved the car from the shared lot. If parked here, it had to be moved within 24 hours, otherwise it'd get ticketed, to a Walmart parking lot. I left the keys in the trunk, she had a spare set, and my new girlfriend drove me to her place to calm down. A month goes by and she texts me, "Why haven't you paid the car and insurance?" I have no money. The agreement we had was that I get the POS and you get the new car. Do you have it written down? I didn't think I needed to. Well, too bad. Payment was due by Tuesday. You have to pay it. Then a crappy smirk came across my face. I wish she saw it. Both cars are under your name. Insurance is under your name. I took my name off the utilities, so they're under your name. No reply. My debt from our first split still looms on my credit score, a whopping $2,000. Her debt, $19,000 car, plus monthly insurance payments, plus half of the rent, plus a fee for repossession, plus utilities. She had the car repossessed despite her brother and I telling her it'd be better to surrender the car before it got to that. She was evicted from our rental home. The landlords let her stay for half rent until they could find a new tenant. BM moved in with her mom again before that happened. The landlords had to take action against us for breaking the lease. No ill will toward them. They were 100% in the right. They deserve their money. And a valuable lesson learned. By the way, I still kept in contact with my child and helped support her, and still do. There's no need for a little one to suffer because her parents hate each other. And it is in writing that I get to see and have my little one during my times. I love her to death and would never let anything happen to her because of her mom's or my vitriol towards the other. I love this, both for your ability to inflict such requisite revenge and your compassion for your child's well-being. Well done, sir. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.